Test. Do you
Yep.
solemnly swear the evidence you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
And state your name on the record.
Did you receive a subpoena to appear at a deposition last week by my offices?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you appear at that deposition?
No, I didn't.
Why?
Because my son had COVID. January the 9th, I was called into work that I had to go pick up my son from school because he was tested positive for COVID. So I had to get out of work that day. I couldn't go back to work until I was as well getting a clear test from the COVID. On Wednesday, which was the 11th, that was the day I was supposed to go back to work, but with a negative COVID test. So that morning I was over at the VitalMed getting that test done. I have the paperwork. I have as well the emails and documents from school where he was tested positive for COVID. So that day I went over to the VitalMed, which was the 9th. I got my negative test. I went back to work. I had, with all that going on with my son of the COVID, I forgot that that was the day I was supposed to be over at the disposition, but I do have my paperwork with the excuses and the emails from school.
Okay, ma'am. And so did you notice that on that subpoena that you received that my phone number was on it?
Yes, with all the information in there, but like I said, with all that going on, because then not only I have my son, but I had to go get tested my other kids as well. Like it did slip off my mind, like to call and just let you guys know what had happened. But I do have my excuses and all the paperwork where he did have COVID.
Okay. Did you know that your employer judged subpoena to appear earlier this week and actually testified?
No, I didn't.
Would you like to know what he testified about?
If it matters, I mean.
Sure, it matters. Your employer testified that you in fact did go to work on that day.
Did, but he should have said as well that I went in late that day.
He did. He did. He said you arrived at 10:30, but your deposition notice was for that afternoon, correct?
Correct, but like I said, I didn't go, not because I didn't want to, it was just because I forgot with all that thing that I had with my son with the COVID. Like I had that like in my mind.
Do you recall that when you were served, that Judge Quintana told you that you should appear and tell the truth?
Yes, ma'am, and I was, but like I said, with that going on, it slipped off my mind. And I do apologize for that, Your Honor.
And with respect to the time that you were supposed to appear, do you understand that Mr. Rangel and his lawyers hired court reporters and videographers to take your deposition?
No, I was not aware.
Okay. And as a result of that, because you did not appear at your deposition, we took a certificate of non-appearance, and it cost my client money for your failure to appear without providing any response or excuse on that day.
But I do have the excuse with me.
It's a pretty lousy excuse. Excuse me for interrupting, but you work in a courtroom, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you should know better. Now go on, Miss Cerro.
And so as a result of that, have you read the subpoena carefully?
Yes.
And do you know and understand that you have been ordered by this court to appear at trial on January the 26th at 9 a.m. and to bring all responsive documents in the subpoena to the trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you understand Judge Reed earlier to say that you and all the other witnesses that are in the courtroom today must bring all the responsive documents to the subpoena to my office on January 23rd, 2023 by 6 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you gotten those documents together?
I have all my documents already here with me.
The responsive documents to the subpoena?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I would ask the court to order her to bring those to my offices this afternoon by 6 p.m.
That's granted.
Thank you. Now, is there any doubt in your mind, ma'am, about the fact that you must appear at trial on the 26th?
No, ma'am.
Do you have every intent to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you understand that if you don't appear, this court can issue a bench warrant to bring you to the courthouse.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your address, please? You know, I don't have any more questions of this witness.
Mr. Bali?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I just want to make sure, first of all, that you understood that unlike the previous witness, Ms. Navarro, you were ordered to take the documents that you have with you to Ms. Cigarro's office today.
Yes, I understand. I
Okay,
can-
before 6 p.m. Okay. Second is, as I understand your testimony, that you forgot about the deposition.
Yes, with all that was going on, yes.
Okay, and you didn't not appear at the deposition because you were indifferent to the subpoena.
No,
And did you receive any reminder or a call from Ms. Sierra's office at the courthouse to remind you of the deposition?
no, sir, I didn't.
And if Ms. Sierra asked to depose you between now and the date of court, would you be willing to appear?
Yes, of course.
And would and you're planning on appearing in the courtroom at the 111th on the 26th, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and if there's any other documents that aren't with you today, would you try to get those by the end of the day, or at the very least supplement those by Monday if the court will allow you to do that?
Yes, of course. I can have them by the end of the day today.
I'll pass the witness.
I have one question, Your Honor, because I have to. So, ma'am, you work at a JP office, correct?
Correct.
Have you ever known your judge to call anybody and remind them that they had the court on that day and that the judge would wait around for them to decide to come to their hearing?
No, ma'am.
Ask the witness.
Mr. Bali?
No questions.
Alrighty. Then she is to produce all her documents by today. And that's not subject to supplement. It is a total amount, total documents that she has that are responsive by 6 p.m. today at your office, Ms. Figueroa.
Yes.
And be at the courtroom on Thursday, the 26th at 9 a.m. and do not be late in the 111th in Laredo. And I find, quite frankly, it very hard to believe someone who works in a court it slips their mind that they have been subpoenaed as a witness. That is just, to me, this is a finding of fact for later in the records, that is incredible. So even the courtesy of a phone call. Anyway, that's anything further for this witness?
No, Your Honor, again, I reserve my right to ask for the sanctions we have sought in our motion at the conclusion of her trial testimony.
That's fine.
I've
Mr.
got
Bali, anything? Then you're excused.